Today is Saturday, March the 28th, 2020. I am Julie Hankinson, and this is the view out my window. Well, today we've got a little more going on out there. Yesterday that was actually rather eerie. It was so still. So I'd like to talk a little bit today about misinformation and how misinformation can actually be as deadly as actually having the corona novel coronavirus or COVID-19 virus itself. I know in the United States we've had some people saying eat a whole bunch of garlic or um, even drink Clorox. But apparently in Iran, they have, where alcohol is illegal, they have people who create drinking alcohol illegally using stills, like, bootlegging, like we did in the Roaring 20s, or they still do up in the mountains sometimes. But they're saying that this is the cure for COVID 19. And there have been actually more deaths in certain areas of the country because of consumption of illegal alcohol than there actually have been from the COVID-19 virus itself. Actually, 280 actual deaths with over 2,000 cases of people going blind, being put into comas. I mean, that it's as bad. This whole misinformation thing is just so bad in whichever country it goes in. People are not listening to the doctors. They're not doing social distancing. They'd much rather do some crazy cure that they found on the internet, or they heard about from secondhand. And apparently that is what has happened in Iran. Again, in Iran, you can't buy liquor legally, and so they have been producing it in stills, and it has been touted as the cure for the COVID-19 virus, and it has literally killed several hundred people, and it has put others, over 2,000, in the hospital, some of them completely blind, some in comas. It is just really as crazy as the people that believe that drinking Clorox is going to cure them. Let's really, please, let's focus on true information. And I know that it does seem to change almost hourly, but there are some established protocols that we can trust, like washing our hands and just self-isolation, just protecting your family by social distancing. I am going to actually have to go out and buy food again tomorrow. Well, I don't have to, but if I want to get the cereal I want, whatever, then I will have to go out and get some more food. But I am trying to limit my purchases to only once a week, because that does limit my exposure. And that's what we need to do here. We need to flatten this infection curve by not giving ourselves or our families a chance to be exposed to infection. And let's, try to not do anything crazy here that can get us in the hospital, because that's not a good place to be right now. And let's try to eat healthy, As a matter of fact, speaking of eating healthy, I'm eating healthier, I think, than I was before. I had, because I'm just sort of putting together bits and pieces that I have in the fridge. So I today cooked up some wild rice in a vegetable broth, and I threw in some mushrooms, fresh mushrooms, and some fresh cut carrots, and it turned out pretty good. And I served that up with some scallops, which I had in the freezer. And I would never put that much effort into a meal before I was cooped up in the house. So that's why I say I'm eating better now than I was before, because I don't normally put more than 5 or 10 minutes into cooking something for dinner, and this was definitely a little more intensive cooking wise. So that's what I'm doing. Again, continuing to knit, trying to finish up these UFOs, these unfinished objects, and having a very hard time not purchasing items on the internet, because it is so tempting to look at all the advertisements and to go, oh, I would look great in that. I know I would. Talk about aspirational dressing here. However, do I need it? No. Do I want to pad my emergency fund? Yes, I do. And I strongly recommend that when we eventually get that $1,200, if you're one of the people that does get it, plus the money, if you have any children or for your spouse, that you don't go out and blow it. That you do go ahead and, buy groceries or put it in a savings account for when and if you need it. I know that you may think everything's hunky-dory right now, but we really don't know what's going to be going on in the next month or two. If you're going to get laid off or get a reduction in pay, or heaven forbid you should actually catch the virus itself. But definitely we'll need food and, gas. So definitely keep your gas tanks filled right now, because we don't know if something's going to happen to distribution systems. Again, if somebody were to get sick at one of the oil refineries, they might actually have to shut down an oil refinery. And that may cause a slowdown or a hiccup in the, petroleum distribution system. Even if it's only for a day or two, it's always good to have at least a 3/4 full tank of gasoline in your car, because you never know if there's going to be an emergency, if something's going to happen. And yes, it's always good to have water to drink in your home, because you don't know if you're going to have a problem with your water distributor. As in, maybe your utility workers get sick and a line breaks and you lose your water pressure for a day or two and you have a boil water notice. You definitely want to have drinking water available, at least a few gallons for yourself and for every member of your family, because there's nothing worse than getting sent to the hospital with a seriously bad case of diarrhea. And that is what could happen. Again, that's a worst case scenario, but right now we do need to plan for these worst case scenarios. And if you have ever been impacted in your area by a hurricane or typhoon or, tornadoes, whatever, it really, or even an ice storm, it can shut everything down for a couple of 3 weeks, a few months. And you're going, I never realized that all of this was so important to my life until you don't have electricity, or you don't have water, or you don't have gas. So let's try and think a little bit outside the box here, outside the fact that we're supposed to be sheltering in place, and do think about other ramifications that can occur, along with this pandemic. So, again, don't blow your check that you receive. I was working for the government for down in Katrina, and everyone in New Orleans, well, it seemed like everyone got a couple of $1,000s from FEMA. And here I am working on drinking water, and I'm seeing a lot of people carrying brand new designer purses, because that is what they spent their $2,000 on, is they went out and they bought a brand new high-end designer purse. And instead of spending it on food or clothing, and there's nothing more disconcerting than seeing a homeless person carrying, a Louis Vuitton. And it's obviously brand new, and that's what they spent their money on. So let's please be sensible with how you spend your checks. Remember, you need food, you need to pay your utility bills, you need to put gas in your car, and we don't know how long this is going to last. It's definitely not going to be finished in a couple of months. This is very probably going to be dragging out for months, even possibly a full year, year and a half is what was initially projected. And we need to anticipate, and it's better to, have a low interest account, maybe in Ally, ALLY, they still have about a 1.5 interest rate. I know it's not great, but it's a great place to park your money to keep it safe if you're building an emergency fund. I think Discover also has a comparable rate. And, I'm just saying this because I have experience using Ally, and they get the money over into my checking account very quickly. But you, of course, have to make your own decisions. And these are just my thoughts and an expression of what I intend to do. But of course, you have your own circumstances. So of course you do what's best for you and your family. Again, I was just sharing my experiences in this. So, if I get anything, no matter how weird this thing, all this fine print is, it's going in my emergency fund, because even though I have a job right now, if I get sick, how long is my sick leave going to last? Are they going to give me admin leave for that? I don't know. Everything is so messed up, and it is so chaotic, and I like to have a little bit of control in my life. So that's why I'm padding my emergency fund. And I would recommend it. I'm not telling you to do anything because I can't. And I'm not a financial planner or any of that kind of stuff. But as one friend to another, you know, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and please eat healthy food and continue to social distance and just stay at home. This is not a time for party central, party century party. Um, because I know we're all fearful right now because our lives are changing. And I don't think that our lives are ever going to be the same again because we are living through this time and this time of uncertainty and even paranoia. So I hope to see you all again tomorrow. And in the meantime, you all take care and stay safe. Good night.